Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Mukam karoti vasalam pangom langayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Thank you. Continuing to read from Canto number 1, chapter 2, which is entitled Divinity and Divine Service. Today, text number 22. Ato Vai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramaya Muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvanti Atma Prasadanim Ato Vai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramaya Muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvantyatma Prasadanim Ato Vai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramaya Muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvantyatma Prasadanim Ato Vai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramaya Muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvantyatma Prasadanim
Ato vai kavayo nityam Bhaktim paramaya muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvanti Atma Prasadanim Ato vai kavayo nityam Bhaktim paramaya muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvanti Atma Prasadanim Ato vai kavayo nityam Bhaktim paramaya muda Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvantyatma Prasadanim Ataha
Therefore Why Certainly Kavayaha all transcendentalists Nityam from time immemorial Bhaktim service unto the Lord Paramaya Supreme Muda with great delight Vasudeve Sri Krishna Bhagavati the personality of Godhead
Kurvanti.
do render,
Do render.
Atma,
Atma.
self,
Self.
Prasadanim,
Prasadanim.
that which enlivens.
That which enlivens.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. Kindly repeat after me. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. Purport. The specialty of devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is specifically mentioned herein. Lord Sri Krishna is the Swayamrupa, personality of Godhead, and all other forms of Godhead, beginning with Sri Baladev, Sankarsana, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Narayana, and extending up to Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Yuga avatars, and many other thousands of manifestations of the personality of Godhead are Lord Krishna's plenary portions and integrated parts. The living entities are separated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is the original form of Godhead, and He is the last word in the transcendence. Thus, He is more attractive to the higher transcendentalists who participate in the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In forms of the personality of Godhead other than Sri Krishna and Baladev, there is no facility for intimate personal contact as in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord in Brajabhumi. The transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna are not newly accepted, as argued by some less intelligent persons. His pastimes are eternal and are manifested in due course once in a day of Brahmaji, as the sun rises on the eastern horizon at the end of every 24 hours. Translation again. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. So the verse here is nicely explaining how this activity or process of bhakti or devotional service, it is not something new or recent. It has been going on since time immemorial. And great saintly persons of whom we hear about in this rendering of the Bhagavatam have been engaged in that same loving devotional service also since time immemorial. Many of the personalities we read about, just like Narada Muni goes back 2 lifetimes. Other personalities go back even more lifetimes. And it means that actually that process of bhakti and devotional service is the natural and eternal process which has this characteristic, as mentioned here, of bringing not only happiness, but actually, here the word is used, delight. You know, when you meet a good situation, sometimes that word is very delightful, you know, very special kind of liking or special kind of appreciation, special kind of happiness. Just like Bhagavad Gita also, susukam kartam avyayam. And therefore Prabhupada would say that devotee means one who is happy. One who is happy, because that is the natural characteristic of a devotee. Not only happy sometimes, but actually happy all the time. That is never something attainable in the material world. Somebody may be happy, I won the lottery today, but tomorrow the lottery is spent, or some calamity happens. There is no permanent happiness in the material world. Some of the early devotees were mentioning how Srila Prabhupada, by his very strong preaching, easily convinced those early devotees that stop looking for happiness in the material world. You won't find it. Stop looking for the kind of happiness you're looking for, because we are looking for that happiness which is unending happiness, isn't it? This is the great gift of devotional service. That is why those who are fortunate to become awakened, even though we may not be at this particular stage always situated in that, in the early days they would say, stay high forever. One time devotees had gone to one of those hippie concerts, and because in the early days, that was the height of the hippie movement, and Prabhupada, devotees arranged actually for Prabhupada to come to these festivals also. And devotees one time had, and normally thousands of young people, they would come. Now this is being gradually introduced more and more here in India actually. And the devotees had come to know that the organizers of that particular event, they were serving some kind of drink, and they had put LSD in the drink. Fortunately, the devotees had not drunk any of that juice, otherwise they would have been also spaced out, but they were the only ones. Everybody else was, affected by by this false high. Also in the early days, as reported by devotees, I was not there in those very Just like some of our acharyas describe, first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave. So the first, second, third, fourth wave were like, 65, 66, 67, early 70s, and then after that it's like, so those who were present in those early days, especially at the New York temple, the first temple established, young people would, after spending the whole night partying, they would come and crash at the 26th Second Avenue. After being high all night, they would come down. And in this way, actually, many people, because it was a peaceful atmosphere, the devotees were who for most, not all, but for most, had this kind of background also, were very caring for these devotees, new devotees, we could say, or people who were still caught up in the world of what is called psychedelics in the material world. So this is what Srila Prabhupada was offering, and this is what our acharyas have always offered. This is what Krishna is offering to all the conditioned living entities, that elevated consciousness. The acharyas described, the 5 basic levels of consciousness, beginning with Anamoy consciousness, Pranamoy consciousness. Anamoy on the bodily platform, little children, they have their finger in them, this Anamoy, they think it's something to sucking, something eatable. So from Anamoy, Pranamoy, Gyanamoy, Vijnanamoy, and then the highest, most people are in the lower level of consciousness. Most people actually are on the level of Anamoy, on the bodily platform. A little bit possibly on the Pranamoy, but that's also an extension of the body. A real platform is when we come to the last 2 levels, especially the last level, which is called, of course, Anandamoy, because that is when we see sometimes these devotees, they're always, have you seen some of these devotees, always blissful? They're rare, actually. They're very rare, but they're there. They are undisturbed by whatever may be happening. They are somehow understanding, they're very simple in that way, that now I have this opportunity of being a devotee of Krishna, and my only business is simply to serve, under some guidance, some authority, and it's like whatever happens, it's in Krishna's hands. Otherwise, this is our tendency. We think that things will happen if I make this arrangement or that arrangement, because we still think, falsely think, that we can control. We have that tendency of controlling. That is our disease in the material world. So when we are successful in getting rid of this mentality of me and mine, that controlling mentality, then because actually when we falsely think that we can control, or when we endeavor to control, we inevitably, automatically develop anxiety. Because what can we control? We are constantly, frustrated in our attempts. That's what's happening every day to the vast majority of people in the world. They're constantly, again and again, being frustrated in their attempts to succeed. And they're constantly making different adjustments. Whereas the mentality of a devotee is that Krishna is in charge, Krishna is the controller, and I'm his servant, and I simply endeavor to keep myself in that mood or in that mentality, and then that is nicely expressed in the Govinda Das prayers. Bhajahure mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Yeah. One who has this mood or mentality, he has no reason to be afraid. He has no anxiety. This is the desired mentality. And because if we have any kind of anxiety, how can we be happy? Anxiety means we cannot be happy. So, so that understanding is actually awaiting anyone who nicely hears these kind of descriptions that are there in our Vedic literatures, and who becomes, yes, the word enlivened, who becomes inspired and enlivened by hearing about so many great personalities in the history, as related in the pages of the Bhagavatam, and who are simply finally coming to that stage or that position of giving up that false illusion that I can find happiness. One devotee was sharing how Prabhupada had convinced her that stop looking for happiness in the material world, because it's not there. You see, happiness is only possible on the spiritual transcendental platform, and Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all other Vedic literatures are describing, we've been hearing in the last few days, this very wonderful explanation of how to gradually rise above these modes of material nature and become fixed up in the mode of goodness. Most devotees don't reach that platform of being fixed up in the mode of goodness. We are oscillating, and we are unnecessarily, obviously, in anxiety. It is estimated, especially nowadays, there is increased anxiety amongst people, and they have, the whole world has reason to be in anxiety because the whole world is completely upside down, and but due to this anxiety means, it has many names like stress. We hear that expression very often, being stressed out. This anxiety is actually a cause of the vast majority of diseases that people get. Previously, when people were localized and didn't have to deal, actually they have made surveys where it is scientifically established that if you put one person in a, let's say, urban setting where you have to deal with so many things, so much of movement, so much of noise is there, compared to putting somebody in a village, rural setting. It is scientifically established that those who have to deal with the city situation inevitably develop all kinds of anxieties, and their body is not able to so easily deal with all of the situations that arise, because it is highly passionate. Urban life, urban living, as we know, is full of passion. So that's another reason. That is another reason why Bhagavatam encourages us to live in a more wholesome, more peaceful atmosphere, where there's a routine, and one is more closely connected to the mode of goodness. Prabhupada would quote this one poet who was mentioning how man has created the city, whereas God has created nature. So that means, and Prabhupada would remind us all the time, that means that if we want to put an end to our miserable condition in the material world, we simply have to take seriously these instructions that we are hearing all the time. We hear them all the time, but we don't hear them properly. We are not taking them sufficiently seriously. But that is the special and main characteristic of a devotee. He should not be having anxiety. He should be peaceful. That is a symptom of someone, again, in the mode of goodness. That is a symptom of a brahmana, especially. And therefore Vedic culture arranges things in such a way that more and more people are given opportunity to come to that platform or become situated in a mode of goodness. To be situated in the mode of goodness, as we have read in the last few days, therefore enables one to nicely engage in activities of devotional service and reconnect with his true self, his eternal self, and in this way regain our original consciousness. So this verse is nicely describing this point. In the purport also Prabhupada explains how this is only possible with Krishna, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means that it is very rarely achieved. So the text again here. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna. That means that if since time immemorial, those who are transcendentalists have been performing the same activity, that means that it is unlimited. It is unending. Have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. Yeah. Any thoughts on this? Yes.
The devotee, when he is young, he can do so many services, but as
When a devotee is young,
he can do
Yeah.
more services because he is healthy. But when the age grows,
Prabhupada was 70 years old. Remember? What's your question?
No more question.
We are only as young as we are only as old as we think that we are. This is our disease. One who is actually conscious, he knows that he is like Krishna, Navayovanam, eternally youthful. Isn't it? Yeah. So when we are in the bodily platform, then we make these distinctions. I think it was in Los Angeles one time, Srila Prabhupada, they have where Prabhupada was staying, some staircase was there, and as Prabhupada was walking up the staircase, I think he was in the middle of the staircase, and he turned around, and he said, if I had I feel like running up, but because I have an old body, I cannot run up. But we are eternally youthful. This body does impede certain of our activities. But in terms of rendering devotional service, there is no impediment due to our aging body. Of course, when the body does get old, there are certain activities we cannot do, but that will not dampen one's spirit, as we see in the example of Srila Prabhupada, for example. Yeah.
and the question is again this anxiety for not doing services as before.
You should be one should be in anxiety for not doing service. Because actually once we come to Krishna consciousness, because we have this knowledge, then, those who have not read Bhagavad Gita, they don't know that if I don't engage in devotional service, I'm going to get some bad reaction, etc. like that. Or I will simply prolong my miserable condition in the material world. So a devotee is someone who knows, once a devotee, always a devotee. I mean, one may temporarily deviate or stop for some time, but once we have come in contact with the process of devotional service, we at some point it will continue. Yeah. Yes.
Does Krishna always descend in India and no other part of planet Earth?
Well, Lord Krishna descends once in the day of Lord Brahma. And his favorite place is on this planet. And his favorite place on this planet is here in India. And it's not because he's a nationalist. It's because actually the capital of the world used to be in India. And also there are many reasons. The land of India, which is known in the Shastra as Bharatvarsha, is located geographically in Asia, right? In the Asian continent. So there are different continents, and if we read the Shastra, we find how this tract of land of India, called India, Bharatvarsha, is filled with so many holy rivers and so many dhams, saintly sacred places. Because if we study geographically or historically, even today now, the vast number of people generally have lived in Asian countries. I mean, look at America. Just a few hundred years ago, there were just a handful of people. I mean, what we call the Amerindians, or Red Indians, because Asian countries are especially suitable. Asian countries are especially suitable because of the climate and so many other factors, a few of them I mentioned, for practicing spiritual life. Whereas, if I take you all to Canada right now, you will immediately come to the Bali platform because it's extremely cold. You can't be sitting like this. And a large percentage of one's time in the Western world is, even in Europe for that matter, is spent just to protect oneself from the different elements of material nature, especially winter. It's like, 5-6 months of the year, you can't go out unless you really dress yourself properly. You can't grow any food. And in other words, very difficult to survive. So people's energy is utilized to just deal with the material elements, so to speak. Whereas in a place like India and other Asian countries, India, as we know today, is much smaller than what India used to be. That's another matter. Over the centuries, India expanded. The whole of India comprised, or part of that India was also what we call East Asia, or Far East. For example, Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, which is quite far from here. It was all part of India. And then if we go on the west side also, so many countries all part of India. So there are many, many references in the Shastra that speak about, different cities or places that have been there since a long, long time, where different kinds of pastimes were performed. So in other words, Krishna prefers to come to a place where more easily one can practice Krishna consciousness and more easily elevate or bring people to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. It is mentioned in the Shastra. I'm looking for the reference. If anyone happens to find this verse, kindly send it to me, where it mentions that actually one should not be living in a country or in a place where there are no coconut trees growing and no mango trees, such kind of fruit trees, because one can survive actually on fruits, isn't it? But not so in other places. Yeah. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, you were mentioning about the mode of goodness. So one should always be able to be situated in mode of goodness.
Yes.
And you were also mentioning about Anandamaya. There are some devotees who are naturally happy, irrespective of their superiors, irrespective of the circumstances and all.
Yes.
They are happy that they are practicing devotional service in this life.
Yes.
So, in the Chitraketu Maharaj section of Bhagavatam, when his near and dear wives only has killed his son by poisoning. So at that time it was mentioned the material world is in such a situation that at one point of time those who are very near to us, they also can become enemies at one point of time.
Those who are near to us can at sometimes unexpectedly become our enemy.
Become our enemies.
Yes.
So we should not depend upon any of these things of this material world. So the conclusion comes over there, something like that. Yeah, especially the relationships. One time we may think that this relationship is very strong for us, but that same relationship person may become enemy also later.
Yes.
It was mentioned in that regard. So even amongst devotees also we see sometimes this devotee is very very dear to me, but later on it so happens that their way of serving the mission also and everything, it becomes apart. So this we have been seeing even in our temple also and many places.
Right.
So what I mean to ask is that now as a devotee we need relationships also with other devotees. At the same time this challenge is there that because we need long-standing relationships also. At the same time this challenge is how to
So the question of the question comes how to one should be cautious in choosing one's relationship, and one should understand that because as long as we are here in the material world, even a relationship based on Krishna consciousness, let's say amongst devotees, something might happen that other person may change. Some situation may arise where we may not be able to have that same type of relationship. That is to be expected in the material world. Still, our best chances as devotees for developing relationships is with other devotees. And if it so happens that that relationship meets with some kind of difficulty, we still remain, let's say, the well-wisher of such individuals, and accept it as, providence or something that is, of course, beyond our control, and therefore our real, long-lasting, and deep relationship should be with Krishna. And of course, those who are favorable to Krishna, those who are practicing consciousness, we should seek out friendly relationships with those devotees. But our Acharya has also explained, that's mentioned in by Srila Rupa Goswami, we should be cautious in selecting, even amongst devotees, our relationship. Yeah. So therefore, all of us need relationships. We our whole Krishna conscious philosophy is based on this idea of relationship. So a devotee who nicely understands the philosophy will know that even amongst individuals who are practicing Krishna consciousness, Maya is so strong that that relationship may not remain the same, and just one will be able to, let's say, not be overly affected. Of course, one is always, that is the nature and the quality of a Vaishnava, who is always caring for others and remains a well-wisher of others, and especially of those who have anyone who takes up the process of devotional service can never or should never be seen as an ordinary person. And of course, a devotee, on another level, doesn't see anybody as an ordinary person. He sees Pandita Samadarshinaha, he sees the spirit soul within everyone. But it is said that once somebody becomes a devotee, renders some devotional service, then he's never the same. He's never the same means he has already attracted the attention of Krishna. And therefore, we should never, even though somebody may go away, may stop practicing Krishna consciousness, may become inimical to the process of devotional service as well, and to devotees, still, we, who are we to judge anyone? So many circumstances are at play that are unknown, to us, and ultimately it is Krishna to judge individuals, and our business is simply to always extend to everyone the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. And we also learn about the need to be forgiving to others, and the more we understand how this material world is an extremely challenging place for everyone, challenging for devotees as well, being in the midst of Kali Yuga, which is going on full swing. So therefore, there have been, and there will be what we call casualties, just like in a war, isn't it? In a war, so many soldiers are there. When you're in the front line preaching or front line fighting, then there will be casualties. Still, that should not waver us from our determination, and that should help us actually to become more serious in taking shelter, knowing that, my God, somebody who has been practicing Krishna consciousness and then for various reasons may stop practicing, may go away. So if it can happen to other devotees, and sometimes senior devotees, then that's a warning. That we should take that as a warning for to us. It's just like this example that Prabhupada gives of Lord Brahma. This a little bit in a different context, but Lord Brahma, who was visiting Dwarka, and wanting to have, because when Krishna comes on planet Earth, once in a lifetime of Lord Brahma feels, and so many demigods, they want to come and have darshan of Krishna. So Lord Brahma had come, and I'm sure you've all heard the story, and he was asked to wait at the door, and then he was also, the servant, Krishna told the servant, ask him which Brahma has come. When the servant went back to the door and conveyed that to Lord Brahma, Krishna wants to know which Brahma you are. What do you mean? I'm Brahma. So Brahma, and then that whole Leela goes on to explain that when he finally did get the darshan, after offering his obeisances, the first thing he asked is, I have a doubt, I have a question. Why did the servant ask me which Brahma? And then Krishna, as the greatest of all mystics, he had all of the different Brahmas from so many universes, Brahmas with 8 heads and 100 heads and 1,000 heads, all appear at the same time. No one could see the others except this 4-headed Brahma, who's the smallest of all Brahmas. It's like a big scene in front of him, and they all paid their obeisances and touched their helmets on Krishna's marble sword, made like a tremendous sound, and he learned his lesson that way. He came to know that he thought he was the only one. He thought he was the greatest also. So so sometimes we need to means it was a lesson for him, a lesson in humility. We need to remind ourselves of our actual position, of being very insignificant, and that we can also be knocked off by Maya anytime if we're not cautious. and when devotees are not sufficiently cautious, that's actually what happens. And even sometimes some devotees who are very close to us, they will. But it should not be a source of discouragement for us, knowing and understanding how powerful is Maya and how we need to always be on guard, so to speak. Yeah. So we will stop here for now. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.
Swami Maharaj ki jai.